Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. I'm confused if I'm being a jerk, so my friend pointed me here. I have a college account for each kid. They all have like around $50K at the moment. Now, my oldest went to trade school and we used his account to pay for that. It was relatively cheap. My daughter went to a small, cheap community college before she dropped out. She's now married and a stay-at-home mom. So both of the accounts still have a ton of money in them, and the two kids are well established at this point. My oldest makes six figures at this point, and my daughter married well off, and if they did divorce, she would get a lot. So I emptied the account to use for my retirement. I mentioned it at dinner, and they were angry, saying they still deserve the money even though it was for college only and they never put a cent in. They both called me a jerk. Now for some comments. Not the bonehead. You paid for their education with your money. Whatever is left over is yours to do what you want. By the way, why did you tell them? Stop telling people stuff. Put people on information diets. Sharing put you in this position. Not the bonehead because you used the money for its intended purpose. But why on earth would you tell them that there was money left over and you were going to take it? OP replied, I mentioned it since they asked why I was retiring so soon. The money was enough to put us over the top and I'll be quitting my job soon. Not the bonehead. It turns out that you oversaved for what they actually spent. It's silly, particularly for the college dropout, to sincerely believe that they should get the leftover money. Not the bonehead. That's your money. You saw them through their education. They're done with that, clearly are all grown up and financially stable. You can spend that money on bonbons and ribbons. It's none of their business because it's not theirs. I, 21 male, am a single dad to my daughter, 5 female. Her mom is very inconsistent in her life. When it comes to things like Christmas and birthdays, she shows up and it's all sunshine and unicorns, but otherwise, she can't be bothered. Too busy pursuing the normal 20s she so craved. This past weekend, my daughter was invited to a birthday party. The parents were invited and more or less encouraged to stay. I had nothing better to do, so I stayed. Most of the parents I knew, but there were a few I didn't. At this point, I'm used to watching people work out the age math in real time. I've explained that I know I'm young, but I'd like to think I deserve some kudos for being 5 years in, and I'd like to think I'm not totally incompetent. About a half hour in, this lady comes up to me, asks which one is mine. I pointed my daughter Morgan out. I ask which is hers. She points out her daughter. She goes, so are you an older cousin pulling chauffeur duty or a stepbrother or... I said that I was Morgan's dad. Shocked look, which she quickly tried to get rid of. She asks if Morgan's mom was at this party too. I said she wasn't and told her I was a single dad. I didn't want to get all specific and say Morgan's mom only shows up when it's fun days like birthday and Christmas. This lady goes, geez, and you know what you're doing? I said that I take it day by day, situation by situation. She goes, you really have to know what you're doing. I told her I understood. She asks me what my plan is if I start to slip as a parent. I told her my plan is to drive Morgan into the woods, tape $20 to her wrist, give her a hearty handshake, wish her good luck, and tell her to run free. Lady gets mad, tells me she asked a legitimate question, and says she hopes that my clear lack of maturity doesn't seep into my parenting. I walked over to Morgan, gave her a big hug, told her I loved her, and kept it moving. Am I the bonehead? Not the bonehead. The money taped to her wrist really demonstrates that you have more parenting sense than the nosy, presuming bonehead that was talking to you. Maybe she'll learn to stop being such a judgmental twit, but probably not. OP replied, hey, if anyone's going to get my entire life savings, it should be my daughter. Not the bonehead. You're awesome. Keep it up, my good man. Not the bonehead. Your age has nothing to do with knowing how to parent. We're all first-time parents at some point. I'm 32 and pregnant with my first. I also plan to take it day by day, situation by situation. That's the best any of us can hope to do. You're doing awesome just being there consistently for your child, and she sees that. Keep it up. Not the bonehead. Excellent response to a ridiculous person. Not the bonehead. I mean, you've only been doing this for 5 years, right? I guess you may know a thing or two. Kudos to you because I have no patience and would have told her to go screw. While me and my husband are childless and don't want any kids of our own, we love to spend time with our nieces and nephews. This includes my brother's 11-year-old son Alan, 6-year-old daughter Ava, and my sister's 10-year-old daughter Kelly. Last May, we planned a weekend trip with the kids to a beach town about an hour away. We did this to spend time with them and also to confirm if they would be ready for longer overnight trips, and we'd also be within driving distance of home if any of them needed to go home early. Me and my husband expected that Ava may have had a hard time being away from her parents overnight since she's still 6, but both she and Alan were well behaved the whole trip. Kelly, however, misbehaved for the entirety of the beach trip. Friday, pick up from their parents' houses around 5 and got to the beach town by 7. During the car ride, Kelly was being an instigator and kept trying to start a fight with Alan. Kelly wasn't listening at the grocery store and refused to take turns with Alan and Ava with the TV. Saturday, Kelly threw a fit because she wanted ice cream and we told her that we wouldn't be going to the ice cream store until later. We told her she could have fruit for a snack if she was hungry, and Kelly threw some of the fruit in the trash before my husband stopped her. At the beach, Kelly kept refilling the hole Ava was trying to dig with sand despite being told multiple times to stop. Kelly kept trying to start fights with her cousins. During dinner, Kelly was rude to our waitress and was sarcastic the first time we told her to apologize. Sunday, at the gift store, Kelly wanted to have a conch shell and a mermaid doll but didn't have enough pocket money to get both. When we told Kelly she would need to pick one and couldn't have both, she ended up being allowed to have neither because she kept throwing a fit. At the hotel, Kelly wasn't listening and kept trying to watch TV despite being told multiple times to help with packing suitcases. During the car ride home, Kelly was again being an instigator and kept trying to start fights with Alan and Ava. Me and my husband told my sister that Kelly was not coming on any more overnight trips with us because of her behavior. My sister is angry now because we haven't changed our minds and are staying true to our word by only bringing Alan and Ava to our week-long trip in August. My sister told me that Kelly is just acting like a child and she's only 10. I agreed with my sister that, exactly, Kelly is a 10-year-old. There's a reason we waited until the kids got to their current ages. She's too old to be constantly misbehaving and throwing fits like a 4-year-old. She says Alan and Ava may be mature and calm for their ages, but I'm out of line to punish Kelly for not being the exception to her age, and she hopes me and my husband feel good about ourselves after excluding a child. Is my sister right that we're the boneheads? Now for some comments. You are 100% not the bonehead. You are Aunt and Uncle of the Year, OMG. Don't worry about your sister either. She's just upset that you are being a better parent to her child by sticking to your word than she's capable of being. Not the bonehead at all. They raised a brat. Now they have to deal with the consequences of that. My guess is that she throws a lot of tantrums at home and they placate her by giving her whatever she wants. Also, being an only child likely hasn't helped. Not the bonehead. Her parents are excusing her bad behavior to the point a 6-year-old acted better than a 10-year-old. This is beyond being an exception to their age unless there's a developmental delay not noted in the post. If so, then it may just be not the right time for overnight trips for her. You're not obligated to put up with bad behavior when trying to do something fun for your nephews and nieces. She's learning that her actions have consequences. My husband's ex-wife, who we'll call Kate for simplicity, and my husband and I have been feuding for the last few weeks to the point she's threatening to take us back to court about custody arrangements over her food rules. I'll preface by saying none of the kids, 10 female, 13 male, have food intolerance or allergies. Kate has read a lot of alternative medicine blogs and generally believes a bunch of myths like food combining and gut biome related. At first, we tried to accommodate her concerns as it was coming from a place of love for the kids, but this list has grown to a point my husband and I are no longer able to follow them all and have given up. Some food rules include no fruit after 5 p.m., no liquids directly before a meal or while eating or shortly after eating, no ice-cold drinks, only cool or lukewarm, no non-natural sugars, no food map foods, no combining starches and carbs, 15 minutes of digestion sitting time after every meal. No gluten at all. There are way more rules than this. We have a Google document that she updates with new rules and hyperlinks to studies that show why it's important that the stepkids follow these rules. The reason why I wonder if we're being boneheads for not following these rules is the history between Kate and my husband. My husband's third child with Kate passed away at a very young age due to complications from an allergy. They had left the 3 kids with Kate's niece as a babysitter, and their youngest son had an allergic reaction. No one knew the 3 months was allergic to anything, and the cousin mistakenly thought an allergic reaction was just being ill and gave him Benadryl to help him sleep it off. It was what led to their marriage breakdown, and Kate has been very fearful about what the other 2 kids eat ever since. My mother-in-law is firmly on Kate's side and has been berating my husband and myself for not following Kate's rules regarding food. But my children, my husband's stepkids 10 male, 15 female, don't follow these rules obviously, and it's making all meals impossible to handle. 10 female, 13 male hate following these rules when my children don't, and my husband and I don't think it's fair for my children to have to eat this restrictive diet. Am I the bonehead for not following Kate's food rules for her kids when they're at our place? Now for some comments. While I understand Kate is hurting from losing a child, her hurt and fears are spilling over onto her living children in such a way to likely cause disordered eating. Her kids likely don't follow this off-the-wall diet when at kids' houses or at school or whenever they're not under her control. Not the bonehead, but I think your husband needs to spearhead this fight with you for support. Her list of rules is a bit inhumane and unnecessary. Maybe your husband needs to initiate court intervention in terms of parenting because Kate is not approaching this rationally. I can't imagine a pediatrician or any other doctor backing this food regimen. Kate needs some therapy, and mother-in-law needs to stay in her lane or get behind her son, not former daughter-in-law. Not the bonehead. When the kids are at your house, they should follow your rules. When they're at their mom's house, they should follow their mom's rules. Now, of course, it would be really helpful if those rules were at least somewhat similar, but Kate's trauma is not your fault or the kids' fault. She can't unreasonably force food rules if there's no good reason for it. As long as you're feeding them healthy food, there should be no problem. Not the bonehead. You're following your husband's rules on his kids in his home. What Kate went through with her third child is awful, but she needs professional help to come to terms with it, not to force her other children into an eating disorder as a result. How your husband feeds his kids during his custody time is up to him as long as they are looked after. Mother-in-law needs to stay out of it. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like these stories, please consider subscribing. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.